don't have to wait for joy. Create it now. Welcome back to Along This Spiritual Journey. And in this series, ABCs of Spirituality, J is for joy. So remember, joy is a frequency and it's a spiritual journey because it's a choice that you actually have to practice and utilize every day and cultivate every day. Because again, we hear a lot of people talk about they want to find their happiness. And what is happiness? Happiness is a state of mind. It's a state of being. It's not something that's a continuous state. It's unrealistic to think that it's a continuous state. You don't have to be happy all the time. There's no one forcing you to be. But just like when you're choosing to be sad or depressed, because again, depression is a mental health condition. So I'm not saying people are choosing to be depressed. But in that aspect of depression, you are allowing yourself to choose the thoughts and the path of which you continue to implement in your life. What do I mean by that? I was depressed for years. I still can say that I have my bouts of it when it's really hard and I can see myself falling down into that hole. And it's you think that once you're in it, it's easy to get out, but it's not. Every day you wake up and it's a, why am I here? What is it all about? Why am I so feeling like I'm not worthy? Why do I feel like things aren't going my way? Why don't I have what I think I deserve right now in this moment? How it should look, da 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 da. This is the whole checklist. And remember, you can have everything. You can have the house, the car, the partner, the job, but still be depressed. So what does this mean for joy? Okay, how I walk through this journey and how I learn how to find my joy and cultivate my joy daily, and how I learned that it's a spiritual frequency, is when I easily, like say you're watching a movie or a show or you're doing something you enjoy and you just burst into laughter. And in that moment you realize I can interrupt this frequency of depression and sadness. If this thing can make me have joy momentarily, then I can find ways to keep bringing more joy to myself. And how I've done that for at least my own self-practice is creating content, creating videos, creating music channels, creating blogs, creating whatever I can think of just to get my mind back into a frequency of I am on this spiritual journey as well as this universal spirit or human journey of being a co-creator. We easily forget that everything on this earth is a living creation of someone else's thoughts and emotions that they put together and took the time to actually put out into the world. Every thought was a blueprint that became the actual sketches, that became the actual words, that became that book, that movie, that song, that dance, whatever, right? These are frequencies of joy because we allow ourselves to tap into something that is greater than self. The thing that I've learned about depression is that it's about the self. It's about what am I doing wrong? What did I do wrong? And it's not your fault. I'm not blaming anyone for this level of state of mind. It's usually traumatic conditioning from childhood that's been imprinted on you to the point that now it is all you know. When people talk about survival mode, it's not just a catchy term. It's literally when you're in it, you don't see that you're in it. You barely even know that you're in it. It's just you're living your everyday life the way you always have until one day you recognize and wake up and say, I'm choosing this path. You're not choosing the depression. You're not choosing the sadness. I want to differentiate that. But you are choosing the path of stagnicity, which is I don't have to keep choosing this lifestyle. I don't have to keep choosing these expectations. I don't have to keep being this person that I was told to be growing up, masking, acting like this is who I am when I'm happy or not happy. And then when any sense of real joy comes to my life, I sabotage it because I'm so hyper focused on what I don't have that when I have it right in front of me, I don't appreciate it. Do you understand? That to me is what I learned, the truest aspect of when I'm not tapping into joy versus tapping into depression. Jim Carrey said it best, and I love this man so much for his journey, his experience, and everything he talks about, because people didn't get it when he came out and they were trying to make fun of him when he was saying, I'm a character, Jim Carrey is a character, that's not who I am. You have to remember we are giving these names at birth by our parents or whoever's around us. They just made up some word and said, this is your name. Okay. And then you grow up through life doing things the way that they want you to do it or the way they like it based on their own emotional conditioning and whatever logic that they conjure up from that. And then you become this little imprint of a replicated whatever it is that they feel you should be. In reality, you're your own existence, your own person, your own consciousness, living and dwelling on this earth, having a spiritual connection through your soul's mind. When he said that depression is when your body decides to give up or it doesn't want to play this game anymore, and your soul also knows that it doesn't want to play this game, to me, that's depression. Because it's like they both know you're perpetrating. They both know you're pretending. What the human knows is, why do you act like you're happy around people that you know you're not happy around? And why do you keep acting fake? And eventually, you can fake it for a while, but the body's like a realist. The body's like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm done. You do whatever you need to do. You keep pretending. And the spirit and the soul and emotions are all like, okay, what do we need to do? And then they start stressing out because you start going into all these different realms of possibilities and things that didn't happen or could have happened. And it's crazy because it becomes this type of, we call it rumination. It becomes a level of psychosis because you're going over thoughts and things over and over and over, but they have no conclusion. It's very cyclical. You're just going through trauma cycles and karma cycles and you don't know why. But it's because at some point, the soul has to say, these are past life memories. They no longer belong to my current avatar. What I'm thinking and feeling now were things that were handed to me on a script, on some type of whatever, right? May it be ancestral, cultural, familial, based on environment, your state, you know what I mean? Some people really base their whole entire existence and identity on the state they live in. Some people really base their attitude on the city they live in. Yes, you can adapt to that for survival purposes, but that's not your real personality. That's not who you genuinely are, right? So this is what I say, subculture beliefs and subcultural conditioning can really be distorted when it comes to your joy and why people fall into deep depressions. Because you're trying so hard to be something that you're not, versus just remembering we are all gonna pass from this earth one day. So you may as well make the best of it. You may as well wear the colors you wanna wear, talk how you wanna talk, be with who you wanna be with. I know a lot of people say, well, you can't do that. At some point as an adult, you literally have a choice to say, I don't have to care. I don't have to care about how you feel, what you want me to do, what you need me to do. I can care about what I want to do, what I need me to do. Yes, at some level, you have to be selfish. When people talk about being selfish, that's what it means. You have to stop caring at some point if it's stagnating your growth. If it's helping your growth and conditioning your growth, I say have at it. There's nothing wrong with family traditions and cultural traditions if they're helping you grow. If they're stagnating your growth and making you mask for the world, then yeah, you probably should reconsider or reevaluate what things you let into your life. So that being said, again, the soul has to remember. When I talk about the soul, I'm talking about we have memories of our past. You can say it's the brain if you want to, call it what you want. I don't care. Just remember these are memories. They already happened. They're done. It's not happening again unless you replicate it again. Right? And I'm not talking in a way, because sometimes I have to remind people, my tone is not to try to reprimand or be condescending. It's because I've been through it and I get really excited about like knowing you can grow out of this state of being and this state of mind. It takes genuine implementation. Practice is one thing. Implementation is another. You can practice and practice and practice the piano, but until you decide to play a whole song or do a recital or put yourself out there, that's the implementation that says, okay, let me show off a little bit what I've learned. Let me show the world that I'm willing to participate. Because in that moment of saying, okay, I practice, okay, let me come out of my little hole, let me go just do a little ditto in front of people. And then you meet somebody that's like, oh my God, that's amazing, you're inspiring. Let's work together, let's do something. And it changes your whole life. It changes the whole trajectory of your life because you took the opportunity to take a chance to put yourself out there. That's where joy comes from for me. It doesn't mean joy always is tethered to putting yourself out there in front of other people, but putting yourself out there in front of you is the most vital part. Because how do you know joy if you don't know you? That's the key. Once you know yourself, once you really know who you are, it doesn't matter the amount of masking you're capable of. When you know what your joy threshold is, which means when something around you starts to drain you and take away from you because it doesn't know its joy, you have to have discernment to say, it's time to go. It is not meant for me to be here. It is not meant for my legacy. It is not meant for my health. I am not about to go down this rabbit hole with you or whatever. And some people don't understand that that takes a lot of discipline to be like, I gotta let you go. Whatever it is, a person, a thought, an ideology, you have to be strong enough to let it go, right? There's a lot of people who are right now indoctrinated in cults, and they believe every bit of that because it gives them some sense of familiarity or family or love. And then they get outside and see the real world and they're like, you took that from me. You took the opportunity from me to know my real joy. You gave me a fabricated sense of joy based on rules and disciplines that you told me to do because that's what you felt you should do for you. We as adults have to recognize that, again, joy is a frequency, just like sadness is a frequency, just like anger is a frequency. These are all frequencies. And if you tap in and tune in, that's why they say be careful about the music you listen to. And again, there's nothing wrong with tapping into these frequencies if you know how to get out of them. But if you don't know how to get out of them, don't purposely induce it more. So if you know that you're prone to depression and it's hard for you to get out, don't go listening to depressing music all day long. Try to put a little bit of upbeat music in there. Try to put some things in there that make you happy. Try to do an upbeat workout or go for a walk or do something that is not tethered to sadness, right? Because it's not healthy. And eventually it does create stress on the body, the mind, the emotions, and all of that will take effect. Remember, you can stress the body out so much to the point that it goes into shock and it does not know how to operate. It does not know how to participate in this earthly world. There are a lot of people who have been physically taken out because of stress. Remember, the heart is an organ that relies on your joy. That's why we call it the heart chakra and the love space, because if you give it too much stress and keep feeding it things that are not healthy, again, I'm not talking about positivity, I'm talking about healthy. Everyone knows what healthy means. You can overwater something or underwater something. You can give something enough nutrients or too many nutrients. There is always a balance and an ebb and flow and a duality. There's concentrated and diluted. You have to find the perfect mixture and the formula. That is up to you, not anyone else. That's why I said before, everything in life is an equation. And once you understand that equation, then you take that equation and you create the formula that is going to give you the most successful output, right? So when you stop and think about, what am I doing every day that's conditioning me to stay in this mindset of lack? I've been there. I've literally been there thinking like, why is it not my turn? Why am I not where I need to be yet? Why haven't I? Because nothing grows overnight. And if it does happen overnight instantly, it's usually pretty superficial. It's usually going to dissolve after a while. I have learned that about anything in my life. Connections, relationships, whatever. If it comes too fast and it's not integrated correctly into its existence, it's not going to have any stability or foundation. Everything takes time. Now, you can have something come into your life very quickly because that's a miracle, that's a blessing. I'm not saying look past it, but it needs to take time to get roots. So as soon as it starts getting roots, don't go ripping it up. Let it establish itself. But also, if those roots are ruining your foundation in a way that it's pulling up stuff that you didn't want it to pull up, then you have to go into the shadow work and say, is this something that I need, or is this something that I'm feeding because I think I need it, because it's giving me some sense of oxytocin boost, right? Because a lot of us chase things that make us feel like we wanted it in the moment, and then we get it and we don't really want it. We don't appreciate it, we don't respect it, we don't nurture it. And then when it leaves, all it does is double down your belief that you never deserved it or everything's wrong with you. When in reality, all you were doing at that time was not feeding it the proper nutrients. All you had to do was give it the proper sunlight. All you had to do was give it the proper watering and nutrients, and it would have grew. But instead, you gave it to something that didn't deserve it, which was depression and sadness. And you kept milking it to the point that it didn't know what to do. Now, again, when I say this, there are people who are clinically depressed, which means you need to go see a healthcare provider and get medication for that, if that is something that is what you feel you should do. I'm not telling people they need to take medication. But there are some of us in this society where we know how to pull ourselves out. It's not to that point yet where it's clinical depression, where it's hard to get out. There are some of us where we just live in the sad boy phase and sad girl phase because it's convenient, it's easy. You don't really have to try. All you have to do is sit there and go, poor me, woe me. And I did it for a very long time. And I was like, why is nothing happening the way I want? And then when I looked and laughed, it's like, you literally wake up every day and get on the phone and scroll through social media, and you would do that for hours. Now, I love social media. I make money for social media. There's no big deal on that, right? But if I can do it for 8 hours, I can also work on something that is going to benefit my future for 4 hours or 8 hours, right? I can also go work on my resume. I can also go pick up a new course, or I can also just learn something new for the sake of learning it because it's fun. You never actually know what's going to happen if you just learn something. Like AI, everyone is hating on it. I work in corporate. It's forced upon us. But before it was even forced upon us, I knew this is something I'm going to have to learn. It's going too fast. People are liking it. People with money want it. Again, I understand that there's a level of artistry that's like, this is fake, it's not real. That's your opinion. That's great. But it's still a business. And because it's a business that works for other businesses, it is something that you're going to have to learn. So while you fight it, you're still going to have to learn how to integrate it. Again, there are so many things throughout history that people said wouldn't work, shouldn't work. It's immoral, it's not right. But guess what? It's still here around, and we all are using it some way, somehow, even if we don't want to. So with that said, I made myself learn AI. And then eventually, guess what? Months later, a year later, my job's like, hey everyone, we have all these platforms that are integrating AI, so we have no choice. So because we use Microsoft and we use this, it has Copilot and this and that, and because we use Tableau and all this, they put AI, and because we use all these softwares that are deciding they're going to use AI, we have to learn AI as a company. So guess what? Now I'm on the AI board. Now I'm part of something that is implementing change. And even though I didn't love it as an artist at first, I appreciate what it does as far as allowing people who do mundane jobs to move through things quicker. Yes, people see only the creative side, but I've always said, and some people aren't gonna like this, a true creator is not going to be stopped from creating. A creator who is a creator who at their heart of hearts is an artist will find a way to continue to be an artist and come up with new mediums and new ways to do something that a computer can never do. I've seen it many, many times before. Like on TikTok, those people who take little pieces of scrap paper and just little colors and they make huge murals out of it. Or they'll take Legos and put them together and make these beautiful, I would have never thought of that. It's so cool because again, the artistry, it's about the tactile. Things that you can see and feel and be like, wow, they put so many hours into that to create this vision. That's beautiful. And yes, some people get on AI and they tap a few words and they pump something out and it's beautiful too, but yes, there's no labor behind it. And I want people to remember, labor does not always mean better. It just means that I respect you because you took the time to do something that most people didn't want to take the time to do. That's all it comes down to. So when I learned that, I was like, well, how do I find ways to make joy for me using things that other people might not see as beneficial? But at the end of the day, if I'm saying money is an issue for me, well, how do I use it to make money? Okay, because at the end of the day, let's just be real. We all like to thrive and survive. And I used to live in an artist village where everyone, they had their artistry. And I tell them like, this is your art, but it's also the business. Do you understand the business side of it? Is your business protected? Do you understand the bookkeeping and all that? And they want to, I want to hear that. I'm an artist. Okay, so be it. So now, when you later you look up and you're like, oh, I'm not making the money I want, or oh, my business is struggling, Because you have to learn both sides. That's the logical and the emotional side. I think a lot of people forget emotional or artistry is emotion. Logic is business, it's numbers, it's hard. But if you learn both, if you integrate both, which I've talked about, this is like your masculine and feminine, putting them together, wake up that kundalini, become both aspects of self. You can be an artist who's really savvy at business. I myself went to art school when I was younger. I played the piano and did all these things. I played the cello. I excelled. I have it in me to sit down and do it for hours. But I also learned that I enjoy creating avenues for people who don't know how, so I had to create a business based on that. That's where eqwjah came from. That's where epicinity.org came from. All of my projects and things that I've done became a way that said, let me, what I call Tyler Perry this. A lot of people don't understand how he's created his world. He said, let me make a bunch of movies that are probably crap, but it's a brand. And if you can see that it's smart enough to build the brand's been around. It don't matter how people don't like his shows or they talk about him, they still watch them. They still enjoy them. They still have commentary on them. They might not, again, every artist deserves to make movies how they want. A lot of people say his is based on trauma. It is. Just like the guy who does Beetlejuice, who I forgot his name, he only does sad boy, sad girl movies. Everything's dark. I forgot his name. He did, you know who I'm talking about. I don't know his name, but anyways, everyone has a choice on how they produce their art. And so if your art is now in a way where he's made enough movies and made enough segue in his field that now he has the ability to give money back and opportunities back to the artists who deserve it, to me, that's real change. That's joy. So you can have joy on a very small level, which is just waking up every day and being proud of who you are and what you've accomplished on your own solo. And then there's a bigger scheme of joy, which is I want to create an outlet for others who feel stuck and don't know who they are and can't see a way out, and create joy on that level, right? There's many, many ways to do it. Remember, joy is also not about producing all the time. You can also be joy doing nothing. Joy, again, is a frequency. So that means there's a spectrum. Everything's a spectrum. Remember that movie, or the movie, I forgot, In and Out, or the one with the emotions and the little girl in her head, and they have Riley's world and this world and this world, but each of those worlds is run by a primary emotion, but it's also intertwined with other emotions. It's the same for anything that we do in life. So when you see that, oh, okay, I have joy, this little thing brings me joy. Like for me, waking up every day and being able to just like stretch and move brings me joy. Believe it or not, as I get older, it's like, oh, thank God I still have my mobility. That brings me joy. Being able to sit down and work on projects and things that I've created from my mind and my heart brings me joy. Even if it never sees the light of day, it brings me joy. It brings me a sense of accomplishment. So when you do that, it actually helps the health of the body. It actually helps the health of the emotional mind, of the spiritual mind. So when we walk through this spiritual journey, remember, again, spirituality is not religion. It's not a deemed practice where you have to talk a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way, invest in products and services a certain way. No, spirituality is literally saying, I know that I am an energetic being. This flesh will pass. Hopefully not today, but it will pass. And in the meantime, what legacy do I want to leave of self for me? Some people leave legacy for others. And if you go down that route, you've seen celebrities, how they burn out and eventually say, I was doing this for everyone else. And they'll have their, midlife crisis and become who they are. So be it. It is what it is. And then there's people who do it literally for self. And you know who those people are, because they really don't care if you like their stuff or not, or follow them or not. But if they blow up, they blow up. And they keep doing what they do. I appreciate both sides of those artists. I appreciate when people see that, again, what you decide to do with your life, your existence, is the legacy you live, regardless if you want to or not. Everyone leaves a legacy. Believe it or not, if you are out in this world and you meet people and interact with them and talk to them and do things with them, when you're gone, they're going to remember you. They might not remember you forever, but if they see something or a picture or anything, they're like, oh my God, I remember them. They used to always be so happy, or they were so cool, or they did all this, or they were a B. They were horrible. They did this. That's your legacy. It is what it is. So again, it doesn't matter if other people feel a certain way about it. It matters how you feel about it. So for me, I want my legacy to be that of creation, of joy, of taking chances, not feeling like I have to be stuck, not being able to express what I want to express or do what I want to do. And again, it all comes back to, again, allowing the voice of the soul to speak to itself. The human understands that it's here and it exists and it doesn't have to do anything. Unfortunately, there are people and powers in the world that strip that away from people, so that now we have to work, we have to have jobs, we have to do things, which is why we feel like we have to have a purpose. Not necessarily. The soul should have a purpose. The human does not have to have a purpose. The human only has to participate in the journey of the soul so that the soul can close out cycles and not replicate trauma and get stuck on what we call hell on earth. That is my belief. You can choose to believe it or not. I'm just telling you what gets me through this human existence. Because I've learned a lot of things from my past. I'll have memories of things that I'm like, how do I know this? How did I think of this? And it's like, this is an old timeline. Remember I talk about it, life as a video game? It's like a checkpoint where it's like, I made it this far in the video game, and this is like the last big level. This is the last checkpoint. I kept failing or dying at this board, and I kept getting mad, like, I keep dying at this level. Why? And then you go pass from this earth physically, and you go back to the soul realm, and then the soul realm replays it back. You're like, man, all I had to do was turn around and go the other way, or man, all I had to do was jump over there and that would have been fine. I was so focused on doing it this way. So it's like, okay, send me back. And they're like, okay, we'll send you back, but you're not going to have the same avatar. You're going to forget. It's going to replenish itself and you're going to have to start all over. That's fine. Okay, I got it. And then we come back to this earth. We're like, why am I here? I don't like being here. Earth is ghetto. Because it's true. That's why the spiritual awakening is important, because when you allow yourself to listen to the voices, listen to the feelings, listen to the thoughts, not become them, just listen. And when you listen, again, the act of discernment, again, is a discipline and practice of what is my thoughts, the human, and what are my emotions, thoughts, the heart. Because the emotions of the soul, again, linger from things we've been taught and experienced, and then we reintegrate it back into our daily lives as truth. Nothing is truth unless you make it truth. So again, if you're unhappy and you make that your truth, you're unhappy. It's that simple. If you, on a simple scale, remember, I went over it, not people who are chemically imbalanced and they need help, but for most average people, if you're choosing it, and you're nurturing it, you're making it reality. And so even for myself, I've had to come to the conclusion where it's like, things always work out for me. When we talk about affirmations, it is a catchphrase and a tagline that you should implement every day in your life, because just like we've talked about before in science, there are molecules and things all around us that exist that we don't even know, but we know they exist. And energetically, if you become that energy that it likes, it will pull to you, it will attract to you. So if you're constantly focused on one type of energy, guess what's going to come to you? That energy, even if you don't mean for it to. That's why it takes discipline. Working out is not fun. Even now when I work out, I don't like it. I know some people love it. I don't like it, but I know I have to do it because I want my mobility. I love my mobility, and because I love my mobility, I have to keep finding ways to work out. So because I love my life and I love my emotions, I have to find ways to work out how I don't let myself fall into deep depressions, how I don't let myself fall into anger that does not belong to me. Does this make sense? At least I hope it makes sense. Remember, joy is a frequency that anyone can tap into any day. It does not mean it's going to be every day. It does not mean it's going to be all day. But if you know how to tap in and just ride that rave for a couple minutes or hours, that's like doing a couple reps at the gym. And eventually it becomes, you know how to do a full set and then a full workout. And now you're just this beast mode, athletic, crazy, like joy warrior, because you're like, listen, can't nothing stop me, no matter what. No injury, no person, no thing can stop me from tapping into my joy, because it is mine. It belongs to me, and no one can take it. Anywho, I love you guys. Thank you for following along this spiritual journey. Please like, follow if you want. It's all good. If you made it this far, thank you so much, because I know it's not easy to just look at a screen and listen to somebody just talk, but if anything I said helps you, I appreciate you for listening. And as always, love ya.